Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay in your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.
Hey, what's going on? It's your girl Kid. I'm back in Ripple Effect. You already know what it is, and you already know the vibes. What's going on? Oakland? How y'all doing out here? First time here. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But as you know, it's been a minute. I said I was going to give you another pod. Wasn't lying about that. School's crazy, though. School's crazy, so I have to balance things out, and I have other things going on. But you guys come first, for sure. So I'm here, zoned in. Here we go. We're not talking about nothing else first until we discuss my Knicks. Talk about next up mentality, bruh. These guys embody it. Leon Rose, brilliant job. Thank you for bringing New York basketball back. Of course, you do it at a time when I'm not in New York, right? Currently living there. It's okay, because deep down, I'm there. I'm there in spirit, trust me. And I'm going to try to be at the Garden one of these days. Probably not a game, because those seats are OD. And I have other things I got to do. But I will probably be outside. Maybe I'll catch a fan or two, do some interviews. You know how I do. That'll 100% do for the culture, for me personally, just because I want to be in that. Like, that energy is crazy. Even when I'm on my flight last night and I'm watching the game, and this guy next to me, also a Knicks fan, we watching it together. Everybody like sleeping because it's a late flight. Cool. And we're just low key, just watching everything. And Brunson goes down. We're like, bro, doing everything we can to not tear this plane not trying to make any noise and disturb anybody. But as a Knicks fan, you go through it. And if you're me, 39 years old, I've been through it. I've been a Knicks fan for as long as I can remember. And it's not easy. You know what I mean? Where do I get the strength? Being a Knicks fan. Anyway, and then I'm watching them fight back. I'm watching them get down. It's just no quit. Josh Hart running marathons, apparently, because that's just how many miles he's put on his body. The minutes that he has been playing has been nonstop. Dude does not come out the game. He gives everything that he has, whatever you need him to do on the defensive end. You need a timely three. True gamer, true hooper. Love Josh Hart. It's to the point where I might have to get both jerseys, a Brunson jersey and a Josh Hart jersey. And I might even throw in a DiVincenzo in there too, because the way these guys have been playing, how do you choose? Just Nova all day. Knicks, I don't know, guys out there whoever creates shirts, let's do a Nova Knicks thing. Get creative, because I don't want to choose, and I don't feel like necessarily buying 3 jerseys, if I'm really being honest. You know what I mean? But at this point, the way these guys are playing, and not to mention OG Anunoby going with the hammy. I'm like, bruh, this is not real life right now. We're already down Mitchell Robinson. We're already down Julius Randle. We lost Bogey Bogdanovich. So I'm like, bro, what's going on? And Coach Tibbs, we got to give him all the praise in the world, all the credit in the world. Precious Achiuwa, the way you came up big, and I remember I had somebody ask me, what's going to happen? Because, if Mitchell Robinson's not playing, who's going to have to step up? And I told him, Precious Achiuwa is going to have to step up. He's going to have to be in that role. And it's unfortunate for him, because I know a lot of times, it's you're gonna make those mistakes, and he's just gonna have to learn on the fly. But the way this dude has been playing, he's ready for the moment. And I know a lot of people have been questioning Tibbs, bro, did you really have to play everybody those amount of minutes if you got Precious Achiuwa appearing to be ready for the moment? You know what I mean? But I'm not questioning Tibbs right now. Guys, I know we can nitpick at things, but we up 2-0 in the series. We keep losing bodies by the second, and we're still in the position that we're in. So honestly, for us to sit there and question Tom Thibodeau right now, not the time. You know what I mean? Like, not the time. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, because now everybody's kind of like feeling the momentum and everybody wants to jump on board because now everybody's like, yo, we can do this. Like, how much more can we do? And I know when we get to that, everybody's already thinking about the next round, and it's like, I don't want to do that just yet. I don't want to do that. Indiana is fast. They're a young team. They're a deep team. They're not injured. You know what I mean? They have a lot of things going in their favor. And, Rick Carlisle, we got to talk about that when he's talking about small market teams not getting the fair share and bringing that to the officials. Yeah, that's super smart, right? Definitely super smart. He didn't do it after the first game because everybody would have been like, he's just, you got caught up in the moment. You're being emotional, like kind of like the Jamal Murray situation. That's a whole nother thing that we can get into later. But, he waited. That was definitely strategic. That was definitely smart on his part. I 100% agree with Stephen A on that one when they were discussing that this morning. I was definitely listening to that. That was so true. I thought that too. He was kind of calm, cool, collective. They are playing in the Garden. What exactly do you expect? Since when does the away team get the benefit of the call? You know what I mean? More so than the home team. Everybody, that's kind of like a understood thing, but it makes sense. Put the pressure on the refs. Right? Because what's going to happen? They got to go back because they're going back home. So now he can sit there and say, so we're supposed to get the benefit of the call because we're home now, right? So if we don't get these calls and you guys are calling, moving screens on, and it ends up being an offensive foul like they did with Miles Turner in game 1. Like, I know all this stuff is really, but if I'm being really honest, like game one, honestly, that could have went either way. Yeah, that call on Miles Turner late in the game, that was one of those. It was a cringy moment. Happy moment for me. Cringy moment if you're the Indiana Pacers, though. Like, that's one of those, like, I don't know if you make that call there. I kind of hate it when they say, but that was a foul, though. Yeah, there was probably about, like, 200 others that were also fouls, though. But you're picking a moment in the game that that's gonna decide that game more or less, because what that does to players psychologically, like mentally. Yes, Brunson and these boys still had to knock down shots, right? They still had to do their part, but come on, there's a psychological aspect of the game. Let's not act like we don't understand the game within a game. For you real, sports people out there, you understand what that does to a player. You understand what that does to an arena. You understand. When they called that whole team was deflated. Did you not see Miles Turner? Like, that, they lost right then and there. Right then, and they could have just ended the game right there. If you were going to call that call, you got to end the game right then and there. So I'm not going to be so much of a fan where I can't see that and can't appreciate that. But I'm sorry. Game 2, I saw it. I definitely, service was like a little sketchy on the plane, in the very beginning. But towards the end, second half, Brunson came back, and OG Anunoby went out with the hammy. I saw that. And I'm watching how Indiana played. I'm watching what they did on defense or lack thereof. I'm watching how the Knicks came up clutch with the three-point shooting. Rick Carlisle didn't make the necessary adjustments. And I think he got so caught up in the refs that he lost track, like, you know what I mean, of actually paying attention to the game, paying attention to, hey, there's still time for us to get back. There's still things that we can do. But they were going back and forth. And yes, the refs made a very, I don't even know what they were thinking. They thought Hartenstein, traveled or walked with the ball. I'm like, dude, I know he was walking in slow motion. And, he's not used to bringing the ball up. He did make me nervous. And I'm like, bro, you guys got to, and even the Knicks too. Like, I know they were getting tired and running around. Like, that's when you can tell those minutes were really wearing on them, because times where they gotta be like, yo, when it's time to inbound the ball and you're in these pressure situations, and and Indiana looks like they're full of life. They're young legs, ain't nobody injured, you know what I mean? And it's like, you have to get the ball to the ball handler, period. Like, you can't have that man bring up the ball, because you're putting him in a situation that's not going to be good for anybody. Not for him, not for my blood pressure. It's just not going to be good. Like, you know what I mean? But he didn't have that, that swag trying to, he just had that clunky, unorthodox, I shouldn't have the ball right now, but damn, I do, so I'm gonna make the most of it. So I can kind of see where the refs were kind of like, in fast time, because remember, they're running up and down, and they're trying to do the best that they can, because I don't want to keep just, putting it off on the refs. I know everybody wants to do that, and that gets a little annoying after a while, because guys, at the end of the day, they still got to play the game. They still got to play the game. You still have to, you can choose to pay attention to whatever you want to pay. You can be mad about a call. Okay, cool. But then you have to snap back out of it and get back in the game. And that gets a little too much with the NBA, right? Where they want to sit there and stop and talk to the refs, and all of a sudden the other team is down on a fast break. And it's like, dude, so now you're going to blame the refs because they scored that point? Come on, man. Those points add up. You know what I mean? And then when it gets late in the game, and then when you sit there and say that, the game was decided by a point or two, no, it was decided probably a while ago, because you missed out on those points because you decided to sit there and have a whole conversation with the ref. That was really going to make or break, anything. But just to go back to, to Hartenstein, when it comes to that call, and Rick Carlisle kind of losing his mind, I get it. It was more or less how are you going to call that and then take it back? You know what I mean? If you're going to call it, and be wrong, which sounds kind of crazy. But he was just so caught up in the moment, because he was since when do you guys, take back calls in the moment? Why didn't you do that for us? Why are we being subjected to, this already? And especially since you're already down and you're already, you're in hostile territory, You got to think about what that game meant. I mean, Reggie Miller was there, right? He was talking about how, he's not scared to come back to the Garden. He owns this place. He owns this city. All this foolishness. That's why you had those chants saying, Reggie Miller. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say it, but, if you watch the game, you already know. And then Josh Hart he definitely said it to bring that attention to not just Reggie Miller, the whole crowd, everybody, because now, that's one of those viral moments, because, I mean, he understands history, right? He understands what this means. We're in a series with the Indiana Pacers. If you've been around, from 90s basketball when it comes to the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, I mean, we went through it. I mean, we went through it with Miami as well. There's a whole thing, but it was a lot more dramatic, with Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. That's why you saw, Spike Lee and Reggie Miller having that moment, right, where they kind of signed the paper, for each other, exchanging that, because that was huge. You have Reggie Miller with the choking thing, so the 30 for 30, whatever, and the same thing with, Spike Lee kind of, going back and forth with Reggie, and just to see that whole evolution, the fact that they were hugging it out, and having that picture together, that's cool, and it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's just everything. It's just basketball. It's just what we grew up on. It's what we love, and we love that competition. So totally get it. I mean, Rick Carlisle, totally get it. Now all the pressure is supposed to be on the refs, instead of putting the pressure on you to win at home, right, to kind of get in this series, because you know what they say, it's it's a series, right? Or the series begins when somebody loses at home, right? So now it's the pressure is really supposed to be on you guys, because Knicks took care of home. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They won at home, even though that they were down, outmanned, outgunned. I mean, they did exactly what they had to do, and now here we are in Indiana. And instead of the attention being so much on the Indiana Pacers and Halliburton and these guys stepping up, and Naismith and all these guys, that Miles Turner, that they have to step up and they have to have a big game, because right now we're kind of the team that we're kind of looking at how are you guys here right now when you guys are so depleted? These guys are young. They like to get up and down the floor, and the Knicks are kind of just don't worry about it. Let's slow this game down. We can play at their pace, but you don't want to do that. We have to be able to outscore them, obviously. That's just how it's going to go. But you have to be very careful to not play their game, especially when they're at home. Role players, it's true. They do play better at home. They do. But the beauty about our team is our role players, they're gamers, man. They're going to play. It does not matter where we are. Of course, it's going to help if we're at home. But honestly, the way Knicks fans have been showing up in other arenas, myself being one of them, because the tickets are way cheaper, if I'm being completely honest. And sometimes it's just better. It's just better to have that camaraderie on the road, even with the fans. So it's awesome. And I know what it does, for Brunson and Hart and all these guys. All we can do right now is just pray for health. Pray for health, and that they still embody that next man up. I'm still waiting for McBride to come out in this series. He's going to have himself a game. I can see him having himself a game tomorrow in Game 3. Watch out for that. Because, man, you have to just sit here and appreciate it. I know everybody wants to go off the rails, and like I said, they want to talk about Tibbs and remember when he was with the Bulls and what he did with Derrick Rose and all this. And I get it. I can't sit there and act like I don't take all that into consideration, and how guys were complaining about the minutes and all the miles on their bodies, and and how they're not being rested properly and things of that nature. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand that. But at the same time, it's it's working. It's working. How do we find that balance? I don't know. Sports science, you know what I mean? Sports medicine, you got to catch up. You got to catch up, because what's going on right now is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I think Tibbs is very conscious of the continuity that he has with this rotation. I don't think it's necessary that he doesn't want to rest the player. I don't think it's more or less why is he just wants to work them. And come on, I think it's a little more deeper than that. I think it's when you find continuity, as a coach, you already know what rotation is going to work. You already know what guys are going to respond well in certain moments. You ever watch... just watch the coaching. Don't get so caught up on the threes and watching when Brunson starts dancing and just that step back. I mean, it's crazy. The dude's like a superstar. We can call him a star if you want, but what he's doing right now is a superstar. He's putting the team on his back. That's what he's doing. But if we're gonna sit here and really think about it, come on, man. Come on. Really think about what he is trying to do. And I'm talking about Coach Tibbs. What exactly is he doing? I mean, everything is strategic. He's not just doing these things for no reason. He does give guys minutes, or 48 seconds. I believe that's what he gave Alec Burke. But he probably realized it wasn't going. And then what happened? We're getting back into the game. I mean, it's working, guys. It's working. I know the injuries, and that's just unfortunate. And I wish there was a better way. I wish there was a better answer. But it's if we're winning, I don't know what you want. What if he had more guys resting, right? Let's see he did. And then what if we 0-2 in the series? Then what are we going to say? He should be playing these guys more. Come on, they're professionals. They're this. It's we can't have it both ways. We have to be able to figure it out and be able to manage it better, right? I mean, I'm sure they're working on that. I'm sure they're game planning on it. I pray Brunson is okay and he's gonna play Game 3. Excuse me, but honestly, I don't know. OG Anunoby, we have no idea. We already know Mitchell Robinson's done. We just have to keep on with that momentum. And I know for this series, it may work, right? I know a lot of people already thinking about the next series, and they're sitting there thinking about, but how is this going to work for the next series? And honestly, I just can't think that much further. And you're right, because I do believe you're right. How is that going to work? I don't know how that's going to work. That's going to be, because what I see right now is Boston running through this series that they're in with the Cavs. No disrespect to Garland or to Donovan Mitchell, one of my favorite players. No disrespect. But let's be for real. The Boston Celtics, they've been head and shoulders above everybody else the entire season. And even when they get into these little these games where you're kind of looking at them are you guys serious right now? Kind of playing with their food. Come on. What are you doing right now? You guys are supposed to be this team. This is supposed to be your year, right? Just don't play, right? But now that my Knicks are looking the way we're looking, play, Boston. Please, play. Please play. Make this a longer series so you guys can get tired. We don't need you guys to be well rested, especially since when you guys get KP back, you know what I mean, Porzingis. That's going to be another problem. They have too many problems in Boston. with the Derek White, and like they're just too deep of a team. Like you don't know who's really gonna beat you on any given night. I know people want to talk about Tatum and his shooting words, but I don't really get into that. I feel like you already know what Tatum's gonna give you, and he's not gonna stay in that slump forever. You know what I mean? And even if he does, you have JB, right? You have Jaylen Brown. You already know what he's gonna do, and he's been known to carry to carry that team if need be. You have Al Horford, one of the most professional veterans you'll ever meet, knows how to step up in a moment. Doesn't even matter his age. Half the time you forget his age, and I'm just like, that's a scary team. That I'm not even gonna sit here and hold you. It's a scary team, but I just want to look at what's in front of me, because you do want to have respect for, you know, Rick Carlisle's team and Halliburton, who's a star in his own right, and what Miles Turner and all these other guys are doing, and how they've been stepping up and what they've been doing to contribute, because they've been doing it all season. So we can't sit here and act like, you know, we're just going to run through this series. No, it would be great if we did, but we have to respect our opponent and sit there and really try to figure out what we need to do as a team, especially since we're not even going to be at 100%. I don't think that's just the way we operate. We're not operating at 100%. You know, like I said, Josh Hart running marathons, you know what I mean? DiVincenzo, he is brilliant. I have to shout him out. Brilliant. I'm watching these guys, timely buckets at the end. When you need it the most, they got you. But like I said, Deuce McBride, he's going to have a big game coming up. But I'm not going to sit here and just keep talking about the Knicks, because I can talk about them forever, and I can talk about how Brunson is a superstar, and y'all can debate me all day, but I have a lot of evidence to back that up. We can talk about Jokic. 3? Are we really, like... And why this man does not get the credit that he deserves, I know a lot of people think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should have gotten it. But honestly, I hate it when people do that. I'm gonna really be honest with you, and I can't sit there and say that I've never done it, but I'm really gonna try not to, so I don't sound like a hypocrite. But the man won for a reason, guys. Please respect. I know a lot of you don't have NBA League Pass. He doesn't come on all the time. They don't advertise the Denver Nuggets all the time. And when they do, and if you're on the East Coast, it's on very, very late. So you have to be committed to probably being up at least around 1 a.m. to really watch this man play. I know he's not jumping out of the gym, so nobody wants to give him credit, right? He's not jumping out of the gym. He's not doing anything super athletic. And I'm not going to make fun of that like some of y'all like to do, talking about you can't jump over a credit card. Like, that's disrespectful. Because first of all, can't none of y'all do what he does. So stop it. It's funny. Stop. But it's like his IQ, the way he sees the game, bro. I mean, it's ridiculous, because you would think with his team where they're at, you would sit there and think like, oh, there's mad stars on the team. No, there's not. Yes, you have Murray, and yes, and he's going through what he's going through right now, because you know what? They figured out how to guard him. It's just that simple, guys. We slept on the Timberwolves. And yeah, I said we, because I knew they were a good team. I saw where they were all season. I saw what they've been doing. I've been watching them all season. That's why I kind of low-key was like, yo, I think Anthony Edwards might be my favorite player right now. No disrespect to, Donovan Mitchell, because he was right there. But what Anthony Edwards is doing, and it's not just on the offensive end, it's on the defensive end. It's his leadership, saying all the right things, doing all the right things. It's amazing, guys. It's amazing. He looks like he is going to be that face of the league. I know we were talking about Ja Morant, and honestly, I was hoping that he was going to do it. But honestly, he's proven that he's not ready for that type of responsibility. Now, it doesn't mean that what he did was so crazy that we need to come down hard on him. No, but you have to understand when you're trying to be the face of a multi-billion-dollar, operation and growing, because who knows what that number actually is. You're gonna have to be more of yourself, and unfortunately, that does mean that you're gonna have to do that at the age that you are. Right? I mean, it's not fair. I'm not sitting there trying to say it's fair. I know it can't be easy. I know I wouldn't do it. I know couldn't be me. And I understand that. Everybody has to be, self-aware. Not everybody can assume that role, because it means that some of the things that you like to engage in and some of the things that you like to do, you probably won't be able to do. Why? Because it's not about you. It's about the entire league. It's about marketing. You're trying to broadcast this to different countries, and it's about the kids. You're trying to get the next generation involved. It's about the sponsorships. You have to think about what they want and their bottom line. And most 20-year-olds don't think about that. Most people probably don't think about that, if I'm really being honest with you. But if you're going to assume that role, you have to. That's the difference. And I think Anthony Edwards is in that position right now to do so. He's put himself in that position. I don't know if he's talking to different people. I don't know if he kind of used maybe the whole Ja Morant situation as kind of maybe a learning experience for himself to know, okay, this is, so I have to understand that it has to be all about this. I can't, afford to be in my early 20s right now, which is unfortunate. But sometimes you have to do that. I think he had that moment, like, I can't afford to be in my 20s. I can't afford to make mistakes that you and I have already made, Some people want to act all holy and thou and act like they never made a mistake or never did anything, or maybe not to that extent, or, well, whatever. Maybe you just never got caught doing it, or you were never in a position where anybody cared that much. These guys are in the position where, you know what? All eyes are on you, and people do care what you do. They do care what you say. So you have to be very, very mindful of that at any given moment. And I can't imagine what that must be like. But this is their reality, and especially if that's what you want. And it appears that this is what Anthony Edwards wants, and he's taken those steps to do so. And it's impressive because he doesn't just talk it. Like, you're literally watching what he does on the court, in the defensive end, on the offensive end. Like, it's remarkable, because this is literally when you get to see, like, guys' hard work in the off season. Like, you can honestly look at Anthony Edwards and not say, like, wow, look what's happened overnight. No, you're gonna sit there and say, wow, this guy was putting in some serious time in the off season. He was not playing. He wants to be the best, and he said that he's not even at 80% yet, or whatever he said. That's scary. But I will tell you this, though. I'm not crazy about the Jordan comparisons, and I respect the heck out of Anthony Edwards for saying that he doesn't appreciate either, and it does need to stop, because it does need to stop. Because at the end of the day, like, when you start to compare, you know what I mean, especially too early. I get it. Sports is all about comparisons. I get it. But no, let's learn from the LeBron situation. Let's not do that, because it takes away from what the player is doing right now. Like, let's try to be as present as possible. I even made the mistake like that with LeBron, because you get sucked into, like, this comparison foolishness, and you don't get to appreciate the player, especially someone who's very unique and that's a generational talent. You don't want to miss that because you're too busy trying to compare to another player. Don't do that. They're individual players. They're great in their own right. And Anthony Edwards is on to something great, something special. So you don't want to tarnish that by trying to put it in a category with MJ. And he's had his career, and obviously a GOAT career. And Anthony Edwards is just getting started, guys. He's just getting started. And it's great what the Timberwolves are doing. We did sleep on them. That's why we're sitting there wondering, like, what happened to Denver? It's not about necessarily what happened to them. We're just literally watching the Timberwolves learn from previous years. Like, sometimes you have to appreciate that side of it. It's not so much so that the Denver Nuggets have just fallen off. Jokic is MVP for the third time right now. Third time. But there is film out there. Guys are paying attention. Guys are getting better. In the offseason, they're putting in that work. You don't think that they were watching Denver all this time? You don't think that they were paying attention on how to guard these guys? How to, like, you know what I mean? And being put into situations that would be more beneficial for them. You don't think they've been paying attention to that? You know, McDaniels and them, like, these guys are hungry. They're tired of just being waved off. You know, I know people thought that Denver was just going to run through them. They were already putting Denver up there. Like, do you know what that does to young guys, especially that don't know enough to be scared or be afraid? Because at the end of the day, they know if they put the work in and if they put the time in, you know what, on any given night, we could beat you too. You know, the Timberwolves have a very good game, and they're built, and the way they're built on defense and what they do, you can already see it. Look what they're doing to Murray. Look what they did to the Phoenix Suns. Like, it's like you have to pay attention to all of this, because if you don't, you'll miss it. You'll kind of just make it seem like Denver's just imploding right now, and that is not at all what's happening. Like, if you're paying attention to that series and you see exactly what Denver's trying to do, I mean, I didn't see this coming, if I'm really being honest with you. I did think it had a potential to be a long series, but I still didn't know what the Timberwolves were going to do. I didn't know where the leadership was going to come in just yet, but you've already seen it now. Now it's like they did this on the road in Denver, you know, to the reigning champs. And now they get to go back home. You know what I mean? And then you're kind of just watching, you know, Jamal Murray would throw in the heating pad or the towel at the ref, and it got into the game, and Karl Anthony Towns could have been done for the series if he had stepped on that the wrong way. Like, you're just literally watching this, and I know everybody wants to dissect the conversations about Jamal Murray and how, you know, he did say he took full accountability for doing that, and I get it. Everybody just wants to just, like, when somebody's having obviously a hard time or doing something out of character, because we've seen Jamal Murray, we've seen what he's capable of in the series. He's entertained us, you know, through, you know, when we was in the pandemic, you know, when he was having those series with Donovan Mitchell, when it was Utah, right, when they was having those 50-point games and they were going back and forth. So we've seen what he does when he's in pressure situations. You know, it's like, I'm not going to judge him based off of, you know what I mean, a bad day, a bad game, or what is quite frankly looking like a bad series for him. But it doesn't mean he can't turn it around. It wasn't so egregious where, you know what I mean, I know we want to sit here and talk about what could have happened and all that. Listen. If you haven't been in situations that's either made you want to do that or to the point where you've wanted to do that, then I guess you haven't pushed yourself hard enough, because sometimes some situations get you to that breaking point, and that doesn't excuse anything that he did, but it does humanize the situation to sit there and say he had a bad day, he had a bad moment. You saw the way they were defending him. He couldn't get around them. He couldn't do anything that he wanted. He was getting blocked. He couldn't even get the ball on some occasions. They did a phenomenal job. That's just a testament to how well coached and prepared and mature that the Timberwolves are, and we completely missed it. And you know what? Second game, they did all that without Rudy Gobert. Crazy, right? Because it's the birth of his child. I know everybody wants to talk about that. I love sports more than probably a lot of people. But the birth of your child, of course you got to be there. Come on, man. Of course you got to be there. You're not missing your birth of your child over no game. Come on. Something wrong with y'all. something wrong with y'all. But that just goes to show you that they were still able to beat the defending champs without defensive player of the year, if I'm not mistaken. That's impressive. Another team that's next man up mentality. Like, that's who we need to look at. Not necessarily the well-rested teams, not necessarily the deepest teams, because at the end of the day, it is gonna boil down to next man up. And I'm just gonna leave it right there. But y'all know, I only ask y'all to do one thing. Losses equals Life lessons.
Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you laying your ground, you busting your rounds. Nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason. It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.